Hey, this video is going to be the first part in a series where I go through and talk about every mainline issue of the Teen Titans starting with their original run. The concept that would become DC's team of super teens first appeared in the Brave and the Bold's 54th issue. This issue portrays Robin, Dick Grayson, Kid Flash, Wally West, and Aqualad, Garth, teaming up to fight a villain named Mr. Twister. In the Brave and the Bold's 60th issue, the team reunites, but this time with the addition of Wonder Girl. They take on the Separated Man and beat him by having Robin inject an antidote directly into his heart. This issue also establishes that the Titans' goal is to respond to the cries of help from teens. You know? I mean, they don't do this like literally. Like, if an adult asks them for help, I'm sure they will help them. They're not gonna be like, no, sorry, you're not a teenager. Get out of here, old man. Anyway, this issue is also the first time they actually officially call themselves the Teen Titans, and it's implied that they became a team shortly after taking on Mr. Twister. The Teen Titans would once again show up in Showcase number 59. In this time, a rock and roll band named the Flips, who have a tricked out motorcycle, surfboard, and baton respectively. Not very important to the plot, I just wanted to note that. Apparently, this band, the Flips, they rob a jewelry store, okay? And when questioned about it, they just say, well, our driver was taking us in a weird, like, road, and when we asked him about it, he just up and ran away. So obviously the cops don't buy it, right? And the Flips just end up getting out on bail. But later, when the Flips are going to perform a charity concert at a certain town, right? The mayor of that town goes, no, 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 I don't want criminals performing. But the teenagers get in an outrage, and the Teen Titans intervene because apparently they're a big fan of the Flips, right? And they basically say, no, 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 we'll be here, we'll protect the town, make sure that no crime goes down while the Flips are here performing. And the mayor's like, okay. The Titans immediately fail, and the Flips just leave their hotel room and rob a bank. They apprehend them. They apprehend like two of them, and it is revealed that they are the members of the Flips, and the third one eventually reappears. But all three of them start saying that they have no memory of what's happening, what's going on. So the Titans come up with this last-minute ploy where they basically just announce that the concert is back on, right? And while the Flips are in their dressing room, some people like break in and try to kidnap them. And of course, it gets revealed that the Flips are actually the Teen Titans in disguise, luring a trap. With the robbers beaten and the Flips proven innocent, they put on a show while the teenagers of the city celebrate. By 1969, though, the Titans would get their own series, only 2 years after their first outing. Now, with their origins established, let's take a dive into their original run, starting with 1966, Teen Titans Issue 1. In the team's first issue, the Peace Corps recruit the Titans to stop a dictator who's using robots. The team's second issue introduces a million-year-old teenager named Garn. I wonder if this actually led to the introduction of Narc.
It's Gnark.
Gnark, our resident cave boy. On a minor note, it also shows that the team gets a important request like flattening records. Damn, they got the whole squad laughing. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Aqualad has to take water every hour or he will like dehydrate and like die. You could literally kill Aqualad by taking him on a 90-minute drive without a water bottle. Jesus. Issue 3. The Titans find a villain named Ding Dong Daddy. Yep, Ding Dong Daddy. Yeah, he's a guy who mods cars with weapons. The team beat him, obviously, but not before they get absolutely wrecked by his modded car. Issue 4, Speedy finally makes his introduction. Unfortunately, Speedy's only guest starring in this issue. Issue number 5, the Ant is in this. He's not relevant, but he does show up again in the Teen Titans story, Titans Year 1, so that's of note. As for the story, it's basically just a teenager is forced to commit crimes, but they end up beating the real bad guy who's behind it all. Side note, Wonder Girl mentions how Speedy is, quote, cuter than any of you characters, possibly foreshadowing their relationship. Issue number 6, this one's cool. So Beast Boy's in this one. He makes his grand debut, right? And he wants to join the Titans, but he gets rejected due to not having his parents' permission. Damn, can you imagine if Batman got rejected from the Justice League because he didn't have his parents' permission? Wild. Anyway, Beast Boy gets like super defensive and says, it's because I'm a freak, isn't it? And he just storms off. Eventually, Beast Boy ends up at like a circus or something and he gets hypnotized and eventually is forced to fight the Titans. During this battle, though, he uses like a super cool like hybrid transformation that's half like gorilla, half snake, and it's honestly more useful than half the stuff he will ever do again. Anyway, the Titans are able to free Beast Boy and they beat the bad guy. Side note, Beast Boy's mask sucks. It's really bad. It's like this faded purple like mask that's like skin tight and like tucks into his shirt and has this like weird off-brand like Wolverine thing around his eyes. It's terrible. Anyways, also Anyways, I'd also like to point out that Beast Boy's transformations, right? It's like skin tight and like tucks into his shirt and has this like weird off-brand like Wolverine thing around his eyes. It's terrible. Anyways, I'd also like to point out that Beast Boy's transformations, right, are not entirely green. Only his face is green. The rest is just like the animal's body with like their natural colors and just a green face. It's like honestly horrendous, and it seems far more difficult on the coloring team. At the end of the issue, Robin just straight up looks into the camera and goes, "Hey, you, audience, vote if you want Beast Boy to become a Teen Titan." And I guess they say no, because he's not in this after that for a long while. So that's just crazy to think about, especially since Beast Boy is like one of the most famous and iconic Teen Titans nowadays. Anyway, number 7, Mad Mod. He makes his fabulous debut. Famous Teen Titans villain, right? But in this one, he's not like a British hypnotist guy like the cartoon. He's just a weird British fashion designer who smuggles things through clothing. Not much else to note in this issue, except that he chases Aqualad with a robotic fish. Issue 8. Long story short, they fight a giant robot that's beating the team until Robin throws sand at its joints. Like, can you imagine if that worked with like every robot? By that logic, the only reason Godzilla needed to fight against Mechagodzilla was just because his stubby arms couldn't pick up any sand. Number 9. Two rival schools learn to work together at a beach. Number 10. The team fights a biker. Number 11. Speedy's back, and this time he helps the Titans stop some crooks who are planning to steal plans from a lab. In this issue, they also fight a fake sea monster, and Speedy beats it with a grenade arrow. I feel like that arrow would come in handy a lot more often than you would think, especially with the number of people that he fight. But I don't think I've ever seen Speedy use something like a grenade arrow again. I guess like mild explosive arrows, but this is just straight up like a grenade with a stick on it. Anyway, fun fact: there's also a billboard advertising the 1966 Batman TV show during this, which I guess feeds into the fact that comics at the time were getting a lot of publicity from the show, and the show was also getting a lot of publicity from the comics. They like fed into each other. Yeah. Also, side note, both Roy and Wally show interest in Wonder Girl in this issue. Roy Harper being Speedy, by the way, if I didn't mention that. Which is fun to note because I remember Wally liking Wonder Girl during this series, but he has absolutely no chance. I'm just putting that right there. Anyway, number 12. The Teen Titans go to space and fight aliens who are stealing global landmarks, namely Mount Rushmore and the Sphinx. Side note, it feels like every other issue Wonder Girl's obsessed with a different band. I haven't mentioned it yet, but this is like the third time so far. Also, the Flips are the best band, no doubt. I haven't seen any other bands with like tricked out motorcycles, batons, and surfboards, so that's that. Alright, anyway, issue 13. The Titans recreate a Christmas carol on a corrupt businessman named Ebenezer. I would be remiss to mention it is a reoccurring thing in the series that they call Aqualad Gillhead. Just keep that in mind, it's going to be relevant later. Number 14, the Gargoyle debuts. He's honestly one of the best original Teen Titans villains. With the 60 series, it was very goofy half the time, you know. But the Gargoyle, he like whenever he shows up, you feel like the stakes are raised. In this one, he just sends the entire team to limbo except for Robin, and it just leaves Robin having to deal with like a crime wave on his own, and he's just getting battered, beaten badly. Anyway, the Gargoyle returns, right, and he just sends Robin to limbo too. And while he's in there, he's just tormented by like the evil spirits of his team. They're just like insulting him and stuff. But he eventually just beats the Gargoyle and leaves him trapped in limbo while the rest escape. Also, when they like leave, they're all just standing at a cemetery of their own graves, which that's just great. I would like to imagine the Gargoyle really just went through the time of like making individual like tombstones for all the members of the team. Like he didn't need to be that extra. He just wanted to be. Anyway, side note, another billboard for the Batman TV show shows up in this one. Number 15. They beat a guy named Captain Rumble who likes to attack hippies. Yeah. Number 16. Aliens from Dimension X try to invade a school. No, not that one. Number 17. Mad Mod returns. This time he's trying to steal the Queen's scepter, the Queen of England, right? He somehow does something to the Titans' clothing that somehow like halves their power. Which is like, how? How does he do that? How did he reduce Wonder Girl's strength? Like have Kid Flash's ability to tap into the Speed Force and make an Atlantean worse at swimming. If you could do that, if you could just put something on people's like clothing that like does like this level of damage to like superheroes, why does no other villain ever try that again? Also, Robin's just locked in a tower this entire issue. It's legitimately hysterical. Like, Robin doesn't even have powers that he can get cut in half, right? So they just literally just put him in a locked room and forget about him. He misses out on the entire issue. I don't even think he knows Mad Mod showed up. Issue 18. Starfire arrives, but it's not the one you think. It's actually a Russian superhero named Leonid Kovar. He's actually the son of Konstantin Kovar, who some of you might recognize from Arrow Season 5, where he was played by the guy who played Ivan Drago in Rocky 4. Anyway, long story short, Kid Flash was jerked to him, and eventually the Teen Titans worked together with him to catch a villain. Number 19. Speedy's back. There's not really much to note in this issue except that they call Speedy a quote-unquote member, and that Speedy immediately pairs himself off with Wonder Girl while the gang splits into two teams to investigate something. And at the end of the issue, he claims he has a date with Wonder Girl on Friday. Afterwards, Aqualad announces that he's leaving the team to go babysit for Aquaman. Issue 20. In this one, the plot is kind of wild in this one. So, a crime fighter named Joshua wants to help with the Titans to help stop a brawl between the protesters and police, right? But it turns out the protesters are being backed by criminals, and the criminals work for the aliens from Dimension X. And the aliens from Dimension X are trying to release a monster. They call it Operation Jericho, and that's not the last time we're going to be hearing that name. Believe me. Also, I legitimately forgot the aliens from Dimension X were reoccurring villains. Also, Speedy's in this one, so that's cool. Issue 21. Hawk and Dove are in this one, being Hank Hall and Don Hall respectively. Also, I gotta note, the art in this chapter, and the next one for a matter of fact, is just great. It's really a step up. It's different from that classic 60 feel, and it's a breath of fresh air. Anyway, it starts with Titans on the trails of the criminal from the last issue, and they bump into Hawk and Dove, who are on the same case, basically. And they get into a brief scuffle before teaming up, because, that's what you gotta do. If you're a superhero, you bump into another superhero, you gotta throw hands. It's like the unspoken rule. During the issue, they end up fighting a giant robot, right? And Wonder Girl uses her lasso to rip out the control box, right? Me personally, I would have just thrown sand at it, but that's just me. Anyway, by the end, it ends with Kid Flash and Robin being prisoners in Dimension X, while Hawk and Dove eventually have to cut out because their transformations are wearing off, and Speedy thinks this is because they're leaving because of his temper, because earlier in the issue he actually punches Hawk because they're fighting over Wonder Girl. I don't know. Anyway, they also Wonder Girl calls Speedy their newest member, which means I guess they officially replaced Aqualad. I mean, Speedy doesn't really have any powers besides like the bow and arrow, but he can survive like an entire movie's length without a bottle of water and not die of dehydration. So I guess I call that a step up. Issue 22. The Titans can fight the aliens, right? And along the course of the issue, they discover a neighboring dimension to the aliens. And the Titans accidentally inspired a sole sentient creature in that dimension to rise up and protect his dimension from the aliens from Dimension X, right? And basically, he promises that the aliens are not going to bother him whenever again. Basically, just literally a Deus Ex Machina. Um, this is also the last time that the aliens would appear, completely ending the Dimension X arc. They were a pretty decent villain while they lasted, honestly. And yeah. This story also features a backup issue that explains Wonder Girl's origin. So let's talk about Wonder Girl for a second. You see, Wonder Girl was only in the Teen Titans by mistake. Like, it was completely an accident. Well, Wonder Girl was originally based off of the Superboy comics, where it would just be Superboy when he was young. So it would just be Wonder Woman when she was a girl. Wonder Girl, basically. They had a crossover with Wonder Girl and Wonder Woman, but it was revealed that it was just Wonder Woman's mom, Hippolyta. I think that's how you pronounce that. Basically just using home editing, like on just editing some home videos together to give the illusion that they're meeting each other. It's just, I guess, to please the fans or whatever. Anyway, clearly something was lost in translation when they were making the Teen Titans, because they introduced Wonder Girl as Wonder Woman's sidekick, which is impossible due to them being the same person. So over the course of the series, they noticed this glaring issue, I guess. So they actually have to craft an origin and a secret identity for Wonder Girl, and thus this issue gives her the name Donna Troy. It's the first time she has it. It's also explained that she was a baby in an apartment fire who was saved by Wonder Woman and then adopted by Hippolyta, basically making her like Wonder Woman's adopted sister. She was raised in the Amazon before convincing them to use the purple ray on her to modify her molecular structure and give her the same powers Wonder Woman has, because she felt inferior. This backup issue just kind of reveals that, and then it also gives Donna an apartment, a roommate, and a new costume. All right. Issue 23. This one features the iconic cover of Wonder Girl running through a picture of her former costume to reveal her new costume. this type of cover is gonna be kind of like the mainstay for whenever Wonder Girl gets a new costume. Yeah, you'll see it later on. Okay. As for the plot, this one is just a rock musician running away to South America to try to find his uncle, right? Because everyone in the States is trying to take advantage of him. The only thing really of note about that is that the uncle is named Matt Murdock, and I did not see that one coming. And if this guy's anything like his Marvel Comics like namesake, neither did he. Anyway, issue 24, where the Titans go skiing, and they have to save the resort from this guy who's just causing mishaps to go off, so he can try to sell the land to the government to make a missile base. Honestly, reading that, it kind of felt like a villain from Scooby Doo's plan. Like I'm just gonna scare stuff and cause things to go wrong until I sell this to make a profit or whatever. I don't know. I just can really see the guy being like, yeah, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids, just screaming at the Titans. You know what I mean? Issue 25. Um, this issue is wild. It basically sets up a new status quo for the series going forward. Um, anyway, long story short, the Titans and Hawk and Dove, who are there, end up trying to wrestle away a gun from a guy, but the gun goes off and kills a Nobel Prize winner, right? And this leads the heroes to feel like overwhelmingly guilty. Um, and this is immediately followed by the Justice League basically just berating them for this. Like there is no sympathy, no empathy, no words of wisdom, no nothing you would expect from a mentor. I don't know. They just kind of like are like, you must face responsibility for what you've done. This is horrible. I thought we trained you better. Blah blah. And I'm like, damn. They didn't even like fire the gun. They just failed to wrestle it away from someone. Like, dang. Anyway, um, so they end up like meeting this billionaire philanthropist named Mr. Jupiter. It's actually established that he's actually the richest man on Earth. So take that, Bruce Wayne, Lex Luthor, Mr. Terrific, all y'all rich people from DC, y'all ain't nothing compared to Mr. Jupiter, apparently. Anyway, this guy, Mr. Jupiter, Lauren Jupiter, that's his name. He states that he's creating a special program to prepare teens for the task of fighting the problems that plague humanity and man itself, and says that this includes things such as riots, greed, and prejudice. But the Titans end up accepting his offer to join the program, but they make it clear that they're so overwhelmingly guilty at their failure or whatever that they don't plan on using their costumes or their superpowers anymore. To which Jupiter says, "Yeah, that's fine," and he just gives them these like matching gray jumpsuit uniform things. Um, yeah. Also, Robin announces he's leaving to go to college. And they also introduced this girl named Lilith. She's going to be a mainstay of the series from this point forward, by the way. But she basically has telepathy and she works for Jupiter. She actually met the Titans at the start of the issue, warning them that they're going to like come face to face with death or whatever. And after the Nobel Prize winner died, they actually like blamed her for being like, "Why didn't you stop us or whatever? You knew this would happen." And she was like, "Dang, victim blaming." Anyway, yeah. So she joins the team. So I just want to make it absolutely clear. Because of this issue, the status quo moving forward is that the team consists of Wonder Girl, Speedy, Kid Flash, Hawk, Dove, and Lilith, and they won't be using superpowers or costumes, and they are also working for Mr. Jupiter. Yeah, because he's like the Titans' mentor and benefactor for like years. Yeah, it's crazy. In fact, while I was looking up stuff for this video, I was looking up like when they stop wearing the gray uniforms again, because obviously they eventually do go back to wearing costumes. Spoiler alert. Anyway, I stumbled across an article that actually references this and basically calls it "that time the Titans joined a cult." So that should tell you everything you need to know. Anyway, issue 26. So they're the Titans are in a training room, kind of reminiscent of the Danger Room from X-Men, but way less cool. And in fact, you see them entering this in the last page of the last chapter. It's just a room that says like it's survival course, danger, and it's basically just a death trap. Like there's this giant like wind tunnel. There's a room just full of fire. There's like lasers shooting at them. It literally states the narrator states they grimly struggle inch by agonizing inch. I bring this up because they like make it super clear in the 1996 runs of the Teen Titans that Jupiter is like overwhelmingly worried about the safety of the teens, and I just highly doubt that. I mean, this guy. I don't know. This guy's a massive committer of child endangerment. I mean, is it even made clear if he made this program for the express purpose of recruiting the Titans, or if he intended to recruit random teens? But he has just like this, like, death-defying, agonizing, like, survival course just built into his headquarters, and he's sending people like the Titans in there. And by the way, since they're not using their powers right now, like, basically all of them are just regular teenagers. Like, Donna like has increased durability because she's an Amazon, and like Wally has his like accelerated healing. But like besides that, these are just like regular teenagers, and they're like jumping through like lasers and rooms of fire and wind tunnels, and he just doesn't seem to care. He doesn't seem the problem with this. I don't know. I think someone's got to call child services. I'm just saying. Anyway, Jupiter assigns them to their first mission, but their first mission is basically just a field exercise to basically survive in the hood with like a penny, and they get attacked by a street gang, and they like don't fight it. They can't fight back because they're like pacifists now, because they're like so like worried because the last time they were to fight, the guy died, right? So I don't know. The superhero team is a bunch of pacifists now. Anyway, a teenager named Mal Duncan steps in and rescues them, and later he beats the street gang leader at a boxing event. So he ends up joining the Titans because they're just impressed with him or whatever. But it's really weird because if they're pacifists, why are they impressed by Mal's fighting ability? I'm just saying. Anyway, at the end, Mal feels unworthy to be on the Titans because, just like a regular guy, just stumbled in there basically. And he tries to prove himself by stowing away on an experimental rocket flight, which is just extraordinarily stupid. What? Also, like, really quick side note, in the last two issues, Lilith just keeps saying, I just know, and people ask her, like, how she knows things, and, like, come on, just say you have telepathy or ESP or something. There's no reason to be cryptic. Anyway, moving on. Issue 27, it's revealed that Lilith knew Mal was going to do this, and, says that she let him because he, quote, needed to do this. Um, but, like, she's aware that, like, Mal's, like, a random teenager she met yesterday, right? Why did you think it was a good idea to let him stow away on a rocket ship headed to Venus without any astronaut training? I don't know. Anyway, the Titans go to space, they rescue Mal. Along the way, they just meet some friendly telepathic aliens, and they also survive hallucinations caused by the lack of oxygen before returning home. But I should point this out, it wasn't like the type of hallucinations where they're just like tripping balls. No, they just start fighting each other to like the death for like one panel or two panels or something like that. And then they're immediately like, oh, hallucinations by lack of oxygen. I don't know. This was one of my least favorite issues. Anyway, moving on. Issue 28. Aqualad's back, and he's looking for the Titans. He stumbles upon Sharon, who's Donna Troy's roommate, um, and she's getting jumped. And Aqualad steps in and saves her. Right, fights off the muggers, and eventually he finds Robin like at his college, and he steps in and asks for like where the Titans are. Side note: he's having a whole Aqualad when he finds Robin, he starts having a whole conversation with Robin while they're just like fighting people, and that's like hysterical. And I'm like, dang, can you imagine being those like robber mugger people? Like that's an L, bro. These guys are having a regular conversation while you're just getting whooped. Anyway, um, yeah, he asks where the Titans are, and Robbins basically goes, hey, yeah, they're not going to be much help. Because I should mention, Robin's attitude towards this whole thing, with their like giving up their costumes and like joining Jupiter and wearing these like no superpower type pacifist type beat, right? His whole reaction to this is, it's not my problem. They do what they want. It's weird, but whatever. And anyway, so Aqualad goes to find him, right? And he when he finds the Titans, he confronts them, yelling, "You're not Titans, you're chickens!" And he convinces them to, at the very least, put on their costumes to go talk to Sharon, right? And in one of the best displays of her powers, Lilith uses her telepathy to find out that Ocean Master's henchmen have been turned into an alien monster type thing. And after this, Aqualad storms off and immediately gets captured and left to die after an hour without water. Yeah. So issue 29 picks up right where the last one left off, right? And they rescue Aqualad. They go on and they like somehow beat Ocean Master. After the fight, the team agrees to like use their powers in cases of emergencies. To which Aqualad responds by saying, "You've learned, but not enough," and then leaves. Side note: this was also like a very Hawk and Dove centric issue, which is quite fitting, I guess, since this is actually the last time we see them before they inexplicably just disappear from the series. Yeah, they'll show up like once or twice, but they're like not part of the Titans. They'll show up like in a backup issue or something until way later on. Anyway, issue 30. The Titans save a dude from another dude trying to kill him. It's not really that important. The backup story introduces Aqua Girl, aka Tula. She's Aqualad's girlfriend. Her and Aqualad are going out for a concert, but it ends up with Aqualad having to stop a drugged up mental patient from wreaking havoc. And after beating up the guy, he and Tula are forced to return to the water because their hour is almost up. But it's like it's so sad because it's like they look so pathetic. They're like crawling towards the water and they're like forced to leave the concert because they didn't bring any water with them, I guess. And I don't know. Me personally, I don't understand because like right at the end, you see them go into the water and then they like continue onwards, being like, "Oh, there's always next year." Like you do realize you just had water. Like 1 second, you could just go back to the concert. But what do I know? Anyway, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Mal was actually the first black DC superhero, which is really cool because I had always thought it was actually a Black Lightning, but he was only the first like black superhero to have his own solo series. So I guess the Teen Titans have the credit of having the first one, you know? That's really cool. It's our very own Mal Duncan. Issue 31. At a college, a psychologist is making an army of mind control students. The Titans also choose to use their costumes and power again in this issue, marking the end of the gray suit era. They're not going to go back to that. I guess everything's an emergency now. Anyway, there is also a backup issue in this which features Hawk and Dove on their own, fighting two bad guys that work for the Syndicate. Remember those bad guys that like worked for the aliens from Dimension X? Yep. But eventually they beat the bad guys and they cause the police to go after the Syndicate leader. So this marks the last time we see Hawk and Dove for a long time, and the last time we see the Syndicate ever. Issue 32. Mr. Jupiter builds a time machine and it backfires, sending Mal back through time. And I just gotta ask, what is Mr. Jupiter's job? Like, I know he's a billionaire, like, he's the richest man on Earth, but the only thing we ever seen him do is recruit teenagers for his weird projects, make them participate in his danger rooms. Like, how does a time machine factor into that? Is he a scientist? He just accidentally cracked time travel? Uh, Anyway, Mr. Jupiter calls himself irresponsible for accidentally sending a teenager back through time, but I mean, like, yeah, but that kind of feels like an understatement. Anyway, Kid Flash goes after him because Kid Flash can time travel by going fast enough, and along the way, they accidentally cause the death of a caveman, and as a result, they radically shift the present. And in the present, they end up getting attacked by like medieval versions of their friends. Issue 33. Kid Flash and Mal go back through time to try to fix everything. They save the caveman, but he ends up coming with them to the present. And also, Robin shows up. I guess he's on college break. We find out that the caveman is named Gnark. He finally makes his introduction. Good old Gnark. Anyway, Lilith communicates with him with ESP, and the Titans begin like educating him. Like they put like these like he makes him listen to these recordings while he sleeps to try like subliminally give him knowledge about stuff. While they also like have like a weird like class with like a chalkboard and stuff for him. Anyway, one day, Gnark witnesses a murder and needs to testify in court. The gangsters, they try to kill him so he can't testify, and they end up shooting Lilith. And Gnark goes on a rampage, but Robin like tries to convince Gnark not to kill the gangsters. Gnark agrees with Robin and decides to abide by the law. He ends up testifying, and they put the criminals away. But the issue ends with the Titans claiming Gnark is now civilized, but not due to his education, but due to him abiding by modern morality. Issue 34. Wonder Girl is possessed by a witch. The Titans prevent her from going on a rampage, and they also stop her from getting permanently possessed. Issue 35. In this one, Lilith thinks she's the reincarnation of Juliet, you know, from like Romeo and Juliet. She becomes infatuated with a guy named Romeo, and ultimately, long story short, the Titans find her at like a crypt. Or at least they would, because the crypt is empty. Anyway, in the backup story, Mal Duncan, who didn't come on the trip with them, he accidentally releases, but then later recaptures the gargoyle. Yeah. Anyway, issue 36. They fight an old rival of Romeo, like named Calibano, and they also fight the head of a smuggling operation, who's coincidentally also named Calibano. By the end of the issue, both Calibanos end up dead, right? However, one of their deaths was caused by Speedy, who just shot Calibano with an arrow, and he goes, "Oops!" Like he's just like, "Oh, my eyesight must be getting bad," and I'm like, "Dog, what? You just murdered him! Are they just gonna go back and like put on those like gray suits again?" After that, there's a backup story with Aqualad, but it's not important. Anyway, there's a second backup story with Lilith that is important. This backup story is going to become like a reoccurring series. It basically just shows the origin of Lilith and how she discovered she has telepathy, she discovered she's adopted, and that her real mother also had powers. Now she believes that her real parents are alive, and it ends with her vowing to find them. Issue 37. The Titans go to a foreign land to try to find a cameraman who's presumed dead. But while they're there, they get attacked by the four horsemen. Like war, famine, death, like those guys. Yeah, they show up, and the Titans gotta fight them like one by one. Afterwards, while the Titans are distracted trying to save a mother and a child, um, Death just kills the cameraman. They save him, but then later they're like, "Woohoo, job well done." Some guy goes, "Yeah, that guy got shot," and they're like, "It was Death." Yeah, it's kind of a dark ending. It kind of caught me off guard. They just go there and fail, but they're like, "Hey, at least we saved the mother and child." Issue 38. Lilith reads her teammates' minds and discovers their worst fears. Then she and Mr. Jupiter decide to make the Titans confront their worst fear through like hallucinatory like dream adventures. So of course they do this without the Titans' knowledge or permission, because as we know, the only time you ever need permission when the Titans are involved is parents' permission to join the team. So as for their like weird dream nightmares, Mal has like a space adventure that's him basically just confronting his fear of open spaces after apparently being jumped in a parking lot when he was younger, right? Wonder Woman has a fear of being unfeminine, and her story has her like shaving her head and going undercover as like a spy or whatever. Robin has a fear of failure, and in his, he has to admit that he was unable to save a drowning pilot. Um, when they wake up and they realize what happened, right? You're probably thinking they're gonna be like, "Oh, this is like a betrayal of our trust. You like forced us into literally our worst case scenarios." But no, they're like, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Jupiter. You're like a hero. I feel like a big weight has been lifted off our consciousness." Anyway, it's basically like that. In the backup story, it continues Lilith's like story thing. In this one, she finds a carnival owner and a wife, and they trick her into thinking that they're her parents because apparently Lilith has like a star-shaped birthmark on her back, and they like lie and say that the woman has it because they like tattooed one onto her. Anyway, Lilith finds out and tries to leave, but the carnival owner like tries to stop her, right, and pulls out like a gun. And long story short, the carnival owner accidentally kills his wife in the struggle, and then Lilith just leaves. I guess it's sad. I guess anyway. Issue 39. Gnark, who's now smart and like talking like an encyclopedia, right? He loses his job after they find out about his past, literally being a caveman. Mr. Jupiter hooks him up with like going on this expedition, and during the expedition, he encounters like bad guys doing bad things. The Titans intervene, but they get captured, right? And Gnark refuses to fight back, due to him not wanting to use his strength anymore. Um, this lasts until the bad guys hurt Lilith. Then he goes on. Then he just goes wild. He like escalates to the point of almost killing Lilith, until she like basically tells him that she loves him, and Gnark goes back to normal. The day is saved. But I really like the fact that Gnark worked an office job because that's just funny. Like imagine going to work every day, especially when you pair that with the fact that they named him John Gnark. So like imagine walking into an office and just being like, "Hey John, what's up?" Like pretending like it's not a literal caveman you're talking to. Anyway, issue 40. In this issue, they fight a fake Loch Ness monster. It turns out it was an ancient sorcerer was behind it, and that Aqualad and his new girlfriend are like working for the sorcerer because the girlfriend's actually the sorcerer's daughter who has Aqualad under an enchantment. All right, they eventually beat them, and ends with Aqualad having no memory of the encounter. Side note: Mal, who's like a regular guy, was able to restrain Aqualad, and up to that point, I had assumed Aqualad had like some degree of enhanced strength, just like Aquaman, but if Mal was able to hold him back, I guess not, man. Aqualad really has nothing going for him. Issue 41. Mal gets haunted by the ghost of a slave owner. Yep. Moving on. Issue 42. Wonder Girl's new brooch that looks like a beetle turns into a beetle creature and claims it was cursed and that they have to go to like some random country to go help it return to its true form. So the Titans do that. They like fly halfway across the world and help bring it back to its original form. It turns out the beetle was a monster though. However, the beetle's ancient enemy, another giant monster appears and they fight to the death. And yeah, that's it. They both die. Okay, issue 43. This one's wild. So some demons are attacking an old guy and his grandson, all right? And the Titans try to like help him out. Eventually, the ghost of the boy's mom reveals that the boy actually died as a kid, right? And the boy that is currently there is actually some weird changeling monster that replaced the boy who died as an infant, and that the demons are going after the changeling. So, the grandfather immediately, no hesitation, just grabs his gun and shoots the kid, and the demons go away. He just kills the changeling, and like I don't know, but like the boy, the grandson, he died when he was like an infant, right? Which means that the changeling was actually the boy that the grandpa spent years raising, but it just didn't matter. He just killed him on sight. He did not care. It was crazy. Yeah, and that's how it ends. There's a backup issue in this. It's another Lilith story. She finds a spiritist, right? And it's like a convicted murderess, and she thinks that she's her mom, right? She thinks like, oh, that convicted murderess who's like a spiritist, that has to be my mom. Anyway, so she uses her powers and eventually proves that the real murderer wasn't the woman; it was the woman's ex-partner. But then the woman also reveals that she isn't Lilith's mom because she in fact finds her true daughter. You know, because earlier she's like, "Yo, you might be my daughter. I had a daughter." But no, the real daughter shows up and it's not Lilith. But after this, Lilith decides, she might not be my mom, and I might not have had a family, but it doesn't matter anymore since now I have a family with the Teen Titans. Um, that's a very nice sentiment, but it's also very tragic since this was literally the last thing that ever happened before the series was canceled. And in the verse, the Titans all went their separate ways, and Lilith canonically doesn't stay in touch with them. So all in all, as for this, wait, no, there's more. Yeah, that's right. Apparently, the comics sold well enough for the Titans to suit up again 3 years later in issue 44. That's right, they have a revival in the 70s. So issue 44, the first issue of the revival series, the comic states that it's been 2 years since the Titans split up to pursue their own careers and goals or whatever. Apparently, during that time, Mal has been checking the equipment that Mr. Jupiter left behind every single week. I also like to mention, it also mentions that Mr. Jupiter was the Titans' mentor and benefactor for several years, which really brings the timeline into question, since multiple years implies more than one, coupled with the fact that, like, they've spent 2 years away, meaning it's been like bare minimum 4 years since the series began. The comics goes on to explain that Mal hasn't heard from anyone since they split up. And I should also mention that during the hiatus, during like the 3 year split, 2 years inverse, Speedy quite famously got addicted to heroin. Um, yeah. Uh, but they only really mention that in like one panel, and I guess they just really gloss over the fact that one of their lifelong friends suffered a crippling drug addiction. Anyway, Mr. Light is in this one. Not Mr. Light, Dr. Light. Yeah, he has a doctorate. He did go to college. Anyway, Dr. Light makes his grand debut in this one, and he successfully beats the Titans due to the lack of teamwork, right? And afterwards, in order to combat Dr. Light, Mal goes into the Titan storage closet in hopes of finding something to fight Light with, right? He dons an exoskeleton and then puts on the Guardian's costume and becomes the new Guardian. Side note, the Hawk's costume is there, which makes no sense since it's a magical transformation. It's not some rubber suit they have in storage. Did they like skin him? That's like the only way I can. What? How is that there? Anyway, Dr. Light goes to the Justice League headquarters, right? And he just no diffs the Flash. He just beats the Flash. And Mal shows up and he attacks Light and he ends up freeing the team. And they start using teamwork against Dr. Light, to which Dr. Light's like, "No, I only planned on fighting you one at a time." Anyway, so they just curb stomp him. They beat him. And after that, they're like, "Yep, we're gonna reform the Teen Titans." Side note, it seems like Kid Flash is interested in Wonder Girl as well, but he realized he had no chance when Speedy arrived. Anyway, he actually got like depressed when Speedy arrived. He's like, there goes my chance. Anyway, issue 45. The comic opens up by having Speedy call Mal second rate due to using someone else's powers and costumes, which is really big talk coming from a Diet Green Arrow. But anyway, so Mal storms off while Speedy claims that he's just kidding, right? And yeah, it is about to get wild. So Mal fighting a gang, right? And he's caught in like an explosion. And he just gets up, and Azrael, the angel of death, is there and forces him to fight for his life, right? And it's like a boxing match, and Gabriel is there as a referee. And after beating Azrael, Gabriel gives him his horn, and it and apparently if you blow the horn, you become the equal to whoever your opponent is. And Azrael gives him a curse stating that if he ever loses again, he will die. Anyway, Mal uses the horn to teleport the Titans, including Aqualad, to his location, and together they beat the gang. In the end, Mal and Speedy they make up, and Mal joins Speedy's band. Cause I know, Speedy has a band. Did I mention that Speedy on his heroin trip had a band? Yeah, actually, it was a member of his band that introduced him to heroin. I guess he's still in contact with them. Anyway, so Batman also agrees to finance the Titan. Side note: Mal's girlfriend Karen Beecher is introduced in this issue. All right. Issue 46. Robin introduces the character known as Joker's daughter, right, as a candidate for to be a member. Her true name is Duella Dent, and she claims she's the daughter of Two Face. Um, in this issue, the Titans fight the Fiddler. Afterwards, Robin announces they're going to buy a restaurant to use as their new headquarters. And he also tells Speedy and Mal, yeah, you two are going to run it. Issue 47. The gang names the restaurant Gabriel's Horn, obviously inspired by Mal's horn. And together they attack some bad guys after Duella has some premonitions about where they would strike or whatever. And she claims that she's able to do this due to having a mental link with whoever is planning the caper. Um, Later in the issue, Speedy claims Duella is giving them bad information on purpose because when they went to fight the villains had different powers. Like before, it was like fire power sounds like water powers or ice powers or something like that. It turns out later that the two villains are actually just twins. And meanwhile, Duella and Robin get captured, and it's revealed that Two Face is the mastermind behind it all. I'd like to take a moment to point out that Duella isn't actually Two-Face's daughter. It's literally impossible because they say that she was born when Harvey Dent was already Two-Face, and it only happened like a couple of years ago. And I don't know how Batman can go around calling himself the world's greatest detective when he couldn't notice that Duella is a little bit older than like 2 or 3. Anyway, Duella is eventually revealed to actually be the daughter of the Jokester, which is the Earth 3 counterpart of the Joker. Um, but this just raises more questions because if Duella doesn't have a mental link with Two Face due to him being her father, right? Then she really just has some minor ESP powers that she just never uses again. And it honestly would have been way more useful on like later missions. Issue 48. A flying costumed woman named Bumblebee shows up and attacks the Titans. She uses things like honey guns, sleep inducing buzzing, and stingers to beat them, and then she just leaves. She just dips. After that, Mal, who's now going by Hornblower, which is horrible as a name. Dog, you're the Hornblower. Anyway, he stops a bomb launched by Two Face, and the Titans like get rid of it. At the end of the issue, Duella Dent announces she's changing her name to Harlequin. No, not Harley. It's not Harley Quinn. It's Harlequin. Yeah, she came first. Anyway, and Aqualad just randomly falls ill. Issue 49. The restaurant's attacked. The Titans fight off the attackers with the help of Bumblebee. It is revealed that Bumblebee is actually Mal's girlfriend, and she was attacking the Titans to try to prove that they don't really care about him. But, she was proven wrong. She becomes an ally of the Titan and is even considered a Titan by the end of the series. This is kind of a big deal at the time, especially since she was the second black female superhero DC ever had. Anyway, after this reveal, Mal then unveils his new Hornblower costume. Later on, they're attacked again, but this time they beat the attackers for good. They don't kill them or anything; they just beat them and they stop, I guess. Anyway, Aqualad reappears briefly, claiming he's healthy, right? But then he immediately goes bad again. Like he shows up like, "Hey guys, I'm good," and he just falls down again. Anyway, afterwards, at the tail end of the issue, Mal becomes Guardian again, claiming that too many people knew he was Hornblower, and that's why the restaurant was getting attacked. But honestly, hilariously, he reveals that his horn got stolen. He in like an inner monologue. He's like, "I can't tell them my horn got stolen." Oh my god, that's funny. Um, but I can't believe they went through the trouble of giving Mal a hornblower costume only for him to abandon it in literally the same issue. Yeah. Also in this issue, the cover lists Harlequin as an official Titan, so I guess she's joined the team. Anyway, issue 50, Huck and Dove are back. Together with Beast Boy, Batgirl, Betty Kane, the original Batgirl, Golden Eagle, a guy named like Charlie or whatever, and Lilith. Yeah. And the title, the cover calls them like Titans West. Basically, they unite at the scene of some mysterious disaster on like the west coast, while the Titans on the east coast are fighting a guy named Captain Calamity who's causing weird things to happen, like train tracks start floating and like planes start flying straight down. Issue 53, the Titans West team up and they stop a building from floating away. And they somehow have better teamwork by accident after just meeting than the Titans had during their reunion after 2 years against Dr. Light. After this, Gnark shows up. He's currently Lilith's boyfriend, so good for him. He essentially just joins the team. Meanwhile, our Titans, the one on the East Coast, they beat Captain Calamity's henchmen. Finally, the Titans West meet the Titans East on the last page. Some notable things about this issue include Wally West asks out Donna and gets rejected. Predictably, he never stood a chance. Donna also announces that she's considering moving to California because her roommate's going there. And Aqualad tries to resign from the team, which is funny because I already thought he did. But he claims that he was ill because his illness was psychosomatic due to him feeling inferior to the others. It's insane. Like, he had an inferiority complex so severe it was causing him physical harm. He felt so inferior to like Robin that he was actually becoming physically ill. Anyway, a final notable thing is that this issue is the first time Beast Boy's animals are completely green. Finally. Anyway, in the penultimate issue, 52, right? Scuffle starts between the two teams. Wonder Girl restrains them with her lasso, which apparently can compel anyone in it to obey her commands, which is a really useful ability. Why does this not come up? Why isn't there like go-to like plan? Just get her lasso on someone. Anyway, Captain Calamity claims he's going to make Long Island disappear. As a result, the team splits up. One part of the team is going to go fight Captain Calamity, while the other team is going to fight Mr. Esper, who they suspect is behind it. But it turns out they're the same person. Yeah. Anyway, they beat him, and then the two teams together take a group picture. Yeah. In the final issue, issue 53, the story takes place almost entirely in the past. So it starts off by saying that Guardian and Bumblebee are like reading the original case file of how the Titans came to be. And it just goes through and shows the origin of the Titans. So basically, the Titans, they see that their superheroes, like their mentors, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Green Arrow, just start committing crimes. So the sidekicks team up and one by one beat the heroes. The story reveals that this alien energy creature named Antithesis, it has warped the heroes to feed on the energy released by their criminal activities. But once they beat the last member of like the Justice League being controlled by him, he disappears. After this, the sidekicks decide to form their own team called the Teen Titans. Donna actually chose the name Titans, and Aqualad suggested they should be called the Teen Titans. That'll be important later on. Speedy agrees on the condition that he isn't forced to be a regular member; he can just join them when he wants. Basically, retroactively making Speedy a founding member. I guess he's just that cool. So immediately after this, they're like, wow, if only they knew. And it gets revealed that the Titans are splitting up. Yeah, they're splitting up. And Speedy states like this big spiel. He gives this whole speech, basically saying that they grew up together, they helped each other through the rough patches, but they stifled Aqualad to the point of him having to quit, and that they're just doing this to each other, even if they don't realize it yet. Bold assumption, but okay. He states that one day they're gonna have to replace the Justice League, but they are gonna do it as individuals, not as a team. And they end up splitting up to go pursue their own solo careers, and that just ends the original run. After that, I guess it's just closing thoughts. All in all, this is actually a pretty fun series to read. It starts in the '60s, so there's a lot of camp in it, but there's like a lot of like good camp. Like the Flips issue, that was a good one. The Gargoyle issue was surprisingly like good. Um, the art with the two issues with Dimension X where they team up with, like Hawk and Dove and stuff, that was a good two-parter. There's some stories that are like hit or miss, like the fact that they joined Jupiter's weird cult thing. And I should mention, up until the '70s revival, Jupiter was there every issue. I would just want to point that out. Anyway, but yeah, and the '70s revival is actually really good. It kind of felt like the halfway point between the '60s series, which was a lot more goofy, like fighting Mad Mod and stuff, and the '80s series that's going to be the New Teen Titans. That's going to be in a different video. Yeah, it felt like a really good point. I liked the fact that they like had more like plot development in it. Like you see them like building up their headquarters. They meet the Titans West in like a three-parter. It goes back and reveals their origins as well as like tying it back to the fact that they were like gonna break up anyway. And you see this being seeded through by Aqualad falling ill for like 3 or 4 issues until it's revealed that's psychosomatic. Yeah. It's a good series. I would recommend it. But I think the real treat is coming with, of course, the new Teen Titans. But before that happens, probably the next video is going to be about Titans Year One, which is a 4-issue series that just takes place during this time period. But then after that, it's New Teen Titans that introduces, of course, fan favorites: Cyborg, Beast Boy, Raven, all of them. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention when I first started the series, I was kind of caught off guard. Um, that they weren't the starting roster because I'm pretty sure like most people that know the Teen Titans, they know it from the cartoon. Like Cyborg, Beast Boy, all of them. But no, it's the original five is actually Speedy, Robin, Aquagirl. No, I mean Aquagirl, Aqualad, Wonder Girl, and Kid Flash. So yeah. And honestly, those five kind of become like really iconic in terms of the comics for me. Like whenever they show up, it's a good Teen Titans series. They have just great chemistry from being developed as characters for so long together. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.